This episode is sponsored by the Twindle Foundation. Learn more at www.twindlefoundation.org.
Let's talk.
So many people stay hidden due to fear. Fear of judgment, shame, or even guilt. You are not alone on your journey. Girl, you are not alone. This is a safe place. A place to be heard, a place to be free, a place to be yourself. Bring your girlfriends and let's talk about it. Yeah, let's talk about it. This morning I woke up thinking about how I want to show up in my life for myself. And I just wrote down a couple things that I felt like was important to me. And it's a very short list, but I didn't have a whole lot of time to kind of go in depth with it. But I want to show up in my life with confidence, not confidence knowing if I lose, not confidence like, I want to lose weight, not confidence in my business flourishing, not confidence knowing that I'm enough, confidence that I'm equipped to handle every decision that needs to be made in my life or the lives that I may be responsible for. Confidence knowing I can handle what God has placed for me on my journey. And sometimes that gets tough because life happens and we have to figure out how to navigate through those challenges that occur. And so today I just want to inspire someone to continue to move forward no matter what, especially when you're trying to live your dreams. I always tell people to live in your dreams in spite of your circumstances. Don't allow your circumstances to cause you to give up or to just, stop doing the things that you know that you're called to do. Today, I have a special guest, Giovonna Geathers, and we're going to have a good conversation. We're going to talk about life. We're going to talk about chasing your dreams, the challenges that comes along with it. So stay tuned. How are you?
I am doing well.
So let's start off with you. Tell everyone about yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your name and a little bit about yourself.
I'm Giovonna Geathers, and I am a wife and a mother. So I was born Giovanna Burgess, and now I'm Giovanna Burgess Geathers. And I professionally work as a licensed psychotherapist. I've been in private practice for 10 years. So I'm celebrating my 10th anniversary at the end of 2021. And in addition to that, I do life coaching, business coaching. I coach entrepreneurs who are starting a business or growing an existing business, or people who just have a goal that they are not able to meet, such as weight loss or public speaking or just learning to say no without guilt. So I do the life coaching, the business coaching. I recently started doing leadership facilitation and leadership consulting. And I'm really, really enjoying that. I am a 2-time author, and I am also an international speaker. Wow. And a former radio talk show host. I had a radio talk show on Rejoice FM in Greenville, South Carolina for 2 years, and was the highest rated show the entire time. So very nice. Yeah. I have a lot on my plate.
Yeah, very nice. You know what? I don't even know where to start because that's definitely a lot of accolades under your belt. So that's really good. But I want to ask a question. Like, okay, so when you started off as a therapist, how did you figure out like your direction? How did you move into becoming a life coach and then adding all the other, just gradually building on to that setting?
Yeah, I think I always kind of had some of these ideas. I just weren't sure what they looked like. I've always been one of those people who's been ahead of her time, and which would have been great if I was living in a more progressive city like New York or Miami or Atlanta. But here, things move a lot slower in South Carolina. So yeah. I had dreams about like doing team building and ropes course challenges and trust exercises with organizations and companies way before I really knew how to curtail that, I guess, into a business. But as far as being a therapist, I feel like I was born to do that. When I was in college, my major was criminal justice and pre-law. And so my plan was that I was going to graduate undergrad and I was going to stay out a year, study for the LSAT, and then apply to law school and go to law school. Well, I ended up getting a job about 3 months after graduation at a group home for sexually abused teenagers who were, in the system. So either in DSS or DJJ custody. And so they ended up in this group home, but their presenting issues were that there had been like severe abuse or neglect. And so anyway, once I got that job at that group home, it was like something alive. Something just came alive on the inside of me. And I knew this is what I'm supposed to do with my life. Like, I'm not supposed to be an attorney. I still love law, and I'm like a forensics addict. I love watching forensic shows and Law and Order and, all of that. So I still have a love for the law, but that is not what my purpose on earth was. So I just knew from that young age that this is what I'm meant to do. So I, later went back and got my master's in counseling. And then the life coaching piece came because at the time that I initially graduated, which was in 2004, and started, trying to put myself out there as a therapist, it was like therapy was still taboo, like it's trending now. You've got people like Demi Lovato and Michael Phelps and Taraji P. Henson and Charlemagne the God, who are all like promoting mental health. But at the time, it wasn't sexy. Mental health was not sexy. It wasn't trending. It wasn't cool. And so life coaching became a way for me to offer my services to people that weren't necessarily diagnosable, meaning they weren't diagnosed as clinically depressed or bipolar or schizophrenic, but yet they had some life issues, either it was working through a bad breakup or a divorce, or, I didn't get the promotion or the death of a loved one. And so they didn't necessarily need a diagnosis per se, but they definitely needed to process and talk some things through. And that's where the whole life coaching piece came from. And I kind of even expanded it. So I do a lot, like on my radio show, I would talk about, things that we all deal with. So it's not even just that you have to be a client, but things that almost every human being deals with, like growing in trust, overcoming, your inner critic and no longer sabotaging yourself, and dealing with fear and how to really identify your fears and then to, shift your relationship with fear. So the life coaching really became a way for me, I guess, to be more inclusive, and instead of it just being people with mental health problems.
Yeah, that's so good. And you know what? When you mentioned like how now people are more drawing close, not drawing close, but people are now more aware and moving more, being free and open about getting help. Because a lot of times people are afraid. And I don't know why before that it was an issue or like a secret for someone to say, I need help, and I feel like even for myself, it took me a lot of years and not the fact that I never felt like, oh, I need help. It was more of, I never just stopped and said, hey, listen, I have an issue that I need to resolve. Like there's something wrong and I need to fix it. For some reason, for myself, I'm going to just say this because I can't speak for others, but I would always try to find a coping mechanism so that I wouldn't have to deal with whatever it is that I had going on. And you talked about, not getting the promotion and bad breakups, that type of stuff. And I'm going to just be honest. What I did during those times was I threw myself in work. I found something else just so that I could take my mind off of it. And a lot of times when after a bad breakup, where do you find people? At the gym? And you are most like there people will say, well, some people may think, oh, it feels good. It takes your mind off of. And then some people just feel like, well, I need to do some self-care and then they try to change their image. But once all of that change happened, you're still going to be feeling the exact same way inside.
Absolutely. And those feelings and those emotions aren't gone. And you're right, Tawanda, for so many years because it wasn't cool. It wasn't okay to talk about our feelings because you didn't want to appear weak. You didn't want to be that person who just seemed like they couldn't manage their lives. But what was happening was that a lot of people were just burying those things.
Yes.
And like you said, avoiding them and finding ways to distract themselves. So either people were distracting themselves or they were self-medicating through, drugs, alcohol, sex, shopping, shopping sprees. And so we always are going to find a way to try to deal with our stuff. And either we're going to do that in a healthy way or in a very unhealthy way. And, and so I think we are, becoming more open to that stuff now. And we're not looking at people as weak. And we realize everybody has something. Like there's no one among us who doesn't have something. And the other reason I think it was so taboo is because of the history of mental health in this country. 50, 60 years ago, people were just kind of locked away in insane asylums and they were,
Yes.
heavily medicated and that kind of thing. And so it wasn't so much about treatment as it was separating them from the general population. And now, 2022, we have so many other options, that people, a person with schizophrenia could be literally working right beside you and you would have
not
no
even
idea.
know. Exactly.
You wouldn't even know, because if they are medicated and managing their symptoms, you would have no clue that what they're dealing with. But again, back then we didn't have the medical advances that we have now. We didn't have the knowledge and understanding of mental illness that we have now. So it was taboo because nobody wanted to be considered nuts or crazy or that crazy uncle that we kept locked away in their bedrooms.
Yeah.
And so I think now that that we are ascending and growing in consciousness as a race, as a human race, it's becoming more acceptable to talk about our mess. And people are seeing the evidence, the fruit of all of that not talking, all of that not owning their stuff, because, depression is outrageous right now in this country. Yeah. And that's because of a lot of that buried, unhealed stuff.
Yes, that is so good. You're so right about that. And I'm going to tell you something. And I share this a lot with my friends. I used to feel like I was the only one going through it, because I would always be the one that I would openly share, and I felt like people were just, how you get those, you feel like those eyes are on you or on the back of your, and that's how I felt. And I just, because I was always talking, sharing what I was going through, but no one was reciprocating that. I wasn't getting that back. So I just walked around just feeling like, man, something must be wrong with me. Like I must not be normal. And so finally, now in the season that I'm in, and it's so crazy, because, we always hear that God is with us, even though sometimes it feels like he's not. And on this journey that I've created this podcast, and now I get to openly share and talk with other people. But now I start to see more and more that other people are going through sometimes the exact same thing that I'm going through. No one's life is perfect. I just hate when sometimes you ask someone, and I know they said that we should always speak positively and saying just watch what we say. But I just feel like we can speak positive, but I also feel like we should be truthful when we're speaking positively. Because
Go ahead.
I'm
sorry. I was just going to say, because it's about authenticity. It's we are just moving closer, and it's becoming more okay to be who you are. And I think before, again, a lot of people hid things because just what you said, you didn't want to feel like you were the only one. And I would bet that 99% of the people you were speaking to had something as well, but they just didn't have your courage to verbalize it. And that's what it takes a lot of times. I posted on Facebook yesterday, what does courage over comfort mean to you? And courage means doing the thing that's uncomfortable, doing the thing that's not cool, doing the thing that's not popular, but having the courage to do it anyway, because you're healing, you're your self-advancement, your happiness, your wholeness, your wellness depends on it. And that is greater than your discomfort or your awkwardness or your fear of what other people are going to say or think. But you're exactly right, which is why so many people don't talk. It's, when we think about even like with rape or sexual abuse, and I have people frequently disclose that to me in my counseling practice that have held that for 30, 40, and 50 years. And that's not an exaggeration, because they never felt safe enough to tell anybody. They thought they were the only ones. And what I share with them, Tawanda, is that the problem with people who don't tell or disclose is that it leaves the possibility for that molester, for that rapist to do it to somebody else.
Yeah.
They don't stop. Molesters molest, pedophiles molest, rapists rape. They don't just stop with you. It wasn't just about you. You weren't just that cute or the curviest little girl on the block. That's what they do. And so when victims don't disclose and don't speak up, then what you do is just set them free to keep doing it to other people, because those types of things thrive in secrecy and in privacy. And that's why they say, don't tell anybody or I'll hurt you. I'll kill your mother. I'll do this. I'll do that, because they need it to stay covert. They need it to stay hidden, because they're really cowards. And so they know that if anybody really gets wind of it, that, all hell is going to break loose. And so they threaten the victims. And then because the victims don't talk about it, they end up internalizing all of that and thinking that somehow they were complicit. It was them, somehow it was their fault. They must have wanted it. What was it that they did? And because a lot of it happens during childhood, people will tend to think, well, it was because I was too innocent. I was gullible. I was too trusting. Well, guess what? All children are trusting. Yeah. It's normal for us to trust as children. And so you weren't doing anything that was abnormal. You were just being a child. But they take it on themselves, thinking that somehow that was about them. So it's so healthy and necessary for us to talk about our stuff, because, again, you don't know who your testimony is going to give the courage to speak up about their stuff, or finally go get the help that they deserve, or report that they were raped or that they were molested or that they're currently, being abused in some kind of way. So we can't keep all of that hidden.
Right. And you know what? I started a healing journey maybe like about almost this October would be 2 years. And I always speak out about healing, and I let people know that healing is everything, because the moment that we start talking about those things, we're acknowledging that stuff is, that it's there. Like, we're acknowledging that there's something wrong. And also it's our process of releasing it as well, because we're living a lie or internal, or believing a lie in our head that, saying this happened because of this. And, maybe I deserve it, or I'm not enough. When you speak out about those things, you start to see yourself in a different light, knowing that it was never really about you, and that you're more than what you're believing. And so I always tell people that, especially when they're trying to start it's not easy. Healing is definitely not easy. And sometimes even for myself, it still hurts. Like, I still have a hard time. And sometimes I feel like am I back where I started? Because I'm going through that whole grieving process and things are all over the place. And so it's not something that's going to be easy. It's definitely not a quick fix, and definitely you want to seek some help. Like, get someone that you can talk with, a safe person, and create a safe space for yourself that you'll be able to openly share and not feel like you're judged or being judged.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, Tawanda, healing, it is a process, and that's not always linear. It doesn't mean that I'm going to start therapy today and in 6 months I'm going to be better. It could be, but you may find that in 6 months another issue has presented itself. Yes. And that's because a lot of times we buried so much that it has become like an onion, so it has layers.
Yes.
Or it could be one issue that has multiple layers, or one issue that, triggers other issues to now present themselves to be healed. And really, the truth is, our stuff comes up to be healed. That's the whole reason that the anxiety presents itself, or the depression. It's a warning signal from our bodies and our souls and our lives that, wait a minute, something's off, something's not right. Something here needs to be addressed. And sometimes, of course, it's organic. We may have a vitamin D deficiency, or it may be caused by, a hormonal fluctuation, or maybe there's just a family history of that in your family. But nevertheless, it's presenting itself because it needs to be addressed. When we get headaches or stomach aches or something like that, the physical symptoms are what tells us that something's off.
Wrong,
and so it needs to be addressed. It's no different with our emotional issues. They're not coming up to ruin our lives. They're actually coming up to bless us if we have the courage to face the discomfort and the awkwardness and the hurt, because it is going to bring all that emotion back to the surface. But the thing is, it doesn't last forever. And eventually, if you stay the course, if you stay the path, so much of that stuff gets worked out. And then you get to the other side of it, which is the bliss, which is, oh my God, you mean I've been living in that for all this time? Like I tell people, sometimes we don't know how broken we are until we finally start to taste what true healing and freedom and wholeness looks like. And then you realize just how in bondage you truly and really were. And I think that that's what God wants for us, not a partial liberation, not a partial freedom, but a complete healing, a complete deliverance, a complete restoration, not partial, not a little bit, not somewhat, not 50%. When I think about it, if we were locked up, Tawanda, and our date came that we got released, who wants to go back a week later and sign up for kitchen duty? How many of us are going to report back to the jail or to the prison and say, well, I'm just checking in for the night because I don't really want to be completely free. I just want partial freedom. People are running out the door, running to get to their freedom. So when we are dealing with things emotionally and mentally, why would we settle for anything less than complete and total healing and freedom? And I truly believe that that's what God wants for us. But again, like you said, it's not easy.
No. Gosh,
it's not an overnight fix. It's not a magic pill. It's a process. It's a journey. And you actually learn by embarking upon the journey, not necessarily just relieving the issues. You learn it during the journey. You learn so much about yourself, what you're capable of, what you're made of. And you learn that, you know what? If I survived this thing when it was happening, that's what we forget. If I was able to survive it while it was happening, can I survive just talking about it? If I was able to live through rape while it happened to me, surely I can survive talking about it. Right. If I was able to survive the child physical abuse I went through, or neglect, or losing my father at a young age, or my mother denying me, or not liking me, or mistreating me, can I survive it as a grown adult talking about it? If a child survived it, can't an adult survive talking about it? And that's the thing that we often forget, is that we already survived it once. Yeah. We already lived through it. Survival means you made it. You're on the other side of it. But so much of us stay in survival mode where we're continually surviving. We're continually going through it as if we're still in the midst of the war zone. You're not. Survival means you survived. You made it out. You made it through. Now, you may have to go back and face the residuals of that and the impact and the effects of that. But the reality is to remind yourself, I survived it. I made it. And if I made it out of the worst of it, I can make it going through the residual effects of it.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. That's really good. I'm going to tell you one thing that I did. Not that I did learn, but I felt like this was very significant for where I am in life. My healing journey has helped me to discover my true identity. I mean, really, not who someone said I was, not like who I was born, the family I was born with, none of that stuff. Like, it seemed like I just all of a sudden, like everything was like, okay, I need to dismantle everything that I've learned and discovered over the years and what society has taught me, what I picked up from my parents, friends, whatever, or life, and just looking in the mirror, seeing who I am, seeing the person that God has created me to be, just like almost like a entirely new person was discovered. And I'm not saying that I truly know who my full identity, but I'm walking into that, you know what I'm saying? Knowing what I like, not because of something that was generational or understanding why I did something for so long a certain way, why I have certain habits, you know what I'm saying? Why I process things a certain way. And it was just like, man, so I felt like I've been living a life for someone else, living a life. I now, as I get older, I see, gosh, I have these habits. This is just what my mom does. But then there's a reason why I do the exact same thing that she does. And so it's kind of like, let me figure out, why does she do this? And then why has this become generational? And then like, okay, well, this is not right. And I don't want to do that anymore. So then you get to break that habit that has passed down through generations. So that was the biggest thing for me, just discovering or going on this whole journey of discovering who I am as an individual. Who am I? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Why did God create me? What's my purpose? And that's the biggest part. A lot of people don't really understand their purpose in life. They're still living the life that someone else told them that they should live. I mean, I remember my mom telling me, you should do this or you should do that. And I'd be like, no, why didn't you do it? That's what I used to tell her. Why didn't you do it? That's not for me. I always wanted to be myself. I wanted to see what I could do out there in the world, and I didn't want to live under the shadow of anyone. And I feel like even though I rebelled so hard not to do it, there were still some things that I did. But now I feel like I'm living a life of freedom. It's not a traditional life. Like, most time people says, oh, maybe you're doing too much, or maybe you should take things slow and do. And I just feel like whenever opportunity, and I don't feel like I just do whatever it is that I want to do. Kind of like, how when we start in the beginning, you just stated all the things that you've accomplished in the thing. Everything starts to build on each other. Like it all just comes together. And I feel like I'm on the right path. I'm doing exactly what God, because those doors start to open. Those doors start to open up, and then you realize that it's all coming together. And that's how I knew that I was starting to live a life of purpose and not what somebody else wanted me to do.
Yeah, you have made some incredible points. As I said just now, going through the journey of healing is when you a lot of times really discover who you truly are at your core. You get to unlearn and unbecome what other people have told you that you are. Whether they told you that verbally, by saying certain things to you, that you're nothing, or you just like you're no good daddy, or you're never going to amount to anything. So it's either, or like you said, that, hey, you're going to be a doctor because I never became one. So we unbecome all of that conditioning, from our families, from society, telling you who you are, whether you're a minority or of the majority. This is what is expected of you. This is what you can or cannot do, by your gender. And so there are so many groups and people and I guess societal attitudes out there telling you who you are, that it totally takes courage for you to discover that for yourself. And then when you discover it, for you to accept what you discover, instead of, okay, wait a minute, this doesn't look like what my parents said it should look like, or what my peers look like. I'm 40 and not married. What's wrong with me? Because most of my peers are already married and have children at my age. And so you really have to define your life for you. Every one of us has a unique blueprint, just as unique as our thumbprint, that I believe that God put together the day that he breathed life life into us that said, this is what you are capable of. This is what I have designed for you. And no one will be able to do it like you. 2 people could be real estate agents. 2 people could be attorneys. 2 people could own a Fortune 500 company, but each of them has their own individual, unique path and way. And so when we remember that, it just makes it, honestly, to me, it makes it more special, because nobody can walk out Giovanna's life but Giovanna.
Right.
You can walk your life like my life, but you can't walk out my life. And I can't walk out someone else's life, because the reality is I'm built to walk out my life. Right. When God handed me my blueprint, it was with the understanding that this is what she's capable of achieving and accomplishing. And so therefore that's already inbuilt in me. And so a lot of times we walk around doubting ourselves and second guessing and wondering, can I really do this? And God, did you really mean me? Am I really capable of that? The very fact that you are pursuing that is evidence that you are, because again, the blueprint also came with the provision of what it is you need to walk out your purpose. God wouldn't give you a purpose and then hold back what you need to fulfill that purpose. Like that would be cool. What parent would ever do that? So we already have the tools. We already have, the everything, the beliefs, but sometimes we have to dig through the stuff, the conditioning, the wrong thinking, the lies, the misperceptions, the illusions, the false conclusions. We have to dig through all that stuff to get to the truth. And when you said earlier, you said it was like I became a new person. I like to say we become a new version of ourselves. Yeah. But the you that was intended, that ain't new. That God already knew. That's already been designed from day one. It's new to you. It's definitely not new to heaven. It's definitely not new to God. Right. It's new to us only because it's unfamiliar. Because I've been living this half existence. I've been living this fake life or this false identity. And so now when I come into my true identity, it feels new. It ain't new. It's what you were always designed to do. That's why the false identity had you dealing with so much distress, had you dealing with so much unhappiness and depression and anxiety and, struggle and all of that stuff, because it wasn't you. It was the false identity. The true identity, although it might take you some time to accept it and identify with it and begin to walk it out, that is what will eventually become easy for you, because that's what you were designed to do. It would be like a lion trying to be an elephant, or, an elephant trying to be a possum. I always give that analogy from the movie Ice Age, when the mammoth Ellie thought she was a possum. And so she lived like a possum. She slept upside down like the possums. And so when she finally meets Manny, the other mammoth, he said, wait a minute, look at your footprint and my footprint. Look at our shadows. You're a mammoth. But all this time, Ellie thought that she was a possum. And so it didn't matter what she thought. The reality is that she was a mammoth. So she was never going to be a possum. So we have an inbuilt system that says this is what Tawanda, Giovanna, Tiffany, Amber, Stephanie, Michael, Timothy, Stephen, this is what they are designed to do and capable of. We just have to undo all the mess that tells us otherwise, that makes us feel low, that makes us feel incompetent, that makes us feel unworthy, that makes us feel, like we can't do it or whatever, that we're not equipped. We didn't go to college. We didn't get the master's degree. We aren't married yet. We don't have children yet. We don't have $100,000 sitting in the bank yet. We let all those thoughts, and then the enemy just comes in and uses those things against us to say, yeah, you're right. Who you think you are, blah, blah, blah. And again, the reason all that hurts us and shuts us down and causes us distress is because it's going against the truth of what you really know to be.
Now, first of all, let me, while I'm unpacking this, but why did you do that to me? Because I started thinking about, so some years back, I used to watch this cartoon with my nieces and nephew, and it was about, I can't remember the name of it, but it was a puppy that got lost in the woods. He got separated from his owners and he got lost in the woods. And so these bunnies took him in and helped him, saved him, right? And so here goes, he was learning. So he unlearned everything he knew about himself and started to take the identity of the bunnies. So he started eating what they eated. He started trying to hop like they were hopping and live in the lifestyle of them. And then he had to realize that, hey, listen, this is not my true identity. So he gave up his own life, lost himself to become like someone else. And you know what? That's so crazy, because that's exactly what we do in life. We lose ourselves. We separate from what God has for us. And then we lose ourselves. We get into the world and we just conform to whatever else is going on or whatever people are doing. And then, just like you said, you can't live Giovanna's life. And it's just like, why would I want to be? I'm so intrigued or fascinated with my own life. I'd like to see what God is doing for me, or what he has for me, not for you, because I don't have those gifts, and I'm okay with that. Like, I don't want to be like anybody else. Like, I know that there's something unique about me. There's a purpose for me, and there's a place for me here in the earth, and I want to discover that place. It's kind of like a puzzle, and I'm that missing piece. I want to fit right in. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to try to, you know how we put a puzzle together and we trying to stick something in the spot and it doesn't work, and we trying to bend it and do all kind of stuff. I don't want to be bent like that. I want to slide into the spot that where I'm supposed to be at.
Absolutely.
You know, and I guess you know what else I'm about to say, because this is Holy Spirit. I have to wait my turn until it's time for my puzzle to be fitted. I need to wait my turn until it's time for me to be fitted. Not try to go in advance, like it's strategic. You know, something that the edges might come first, and then you start to see the picture, and then, hey, it's your turn. Not like, hey, put me in now, put me in now. No, let's wait until it's my turn to go in.
Yeah. You know, God is the master architect.
Yes.
And so everything has been intricately and strategically designed, and it will not fail. It will not fail. You will not lose. You know, I posted again a couple of weeks ago about how I can't lose this life that has been given to me, because all I have to ever do is live up to me, to what God designed for me. So I might lose trying to be Oprah. I might lose trying to be Iyanla Vanzant or Tawanda Windley, but I will never lose at being the best Giovanna Burgess Geathers that I can possibly imagine and become. I will never lose that fight. I will never lose that race. I will never, ever come in second to that.
You know what? And I like what you're saying earlier. And after I commented, I really feel that people should truly be who they are. Like, just be your true, authentic self. You don't have to be like anyone else. And I can't express that enough, because I know sometimes we want to appear to be more than what we are, or appear to be somewhere. Like, we all have this goal, or, you know what I'm saying? We have in mind exactly where we want to be in life. But it takes time to get to those places, and we don't have to just try to get there before our time, if that makes sense. Yeah, I just feel like we try to push ourselves, and it's kind of like walking into a season that you're not prepared for. And I talk about this all the time. And so it's more for myself. I even for me, like, I never try to be, or I don't want people to think that I'm more or more successful or have all this stuff going. It's like, no, you know what? I'm just being the person that God has created me to be. You know, there's nothing special, you know what I'm saying? I don't need any titles or anything like that. And honestly, the way that society is in this season, oh my goodness, no, I prefer to be wherever God wants me to be. I don't need to be famous. I don't need a blue check by my name on social media to feel like I'm any type of way. You know what I'm saying? I just want to be who God created me to be, because I think that sometimes, and this is the part that scares me, I don't want to be caught up in the hype. That is the reason, that is my main reason. Like, I don't want to get to a place where I feel like I did all of this on my own. Like, I forgot that you remember that persecution that you went through. You remember when God had to humble you and made you remember where you was. You know, I don't want to forget that kind of, because I see a lot of times that people get to a certain place in their life, and they just become judgmental and start to think that they're, I don't want to say that, because then I'll be judgmental, but they kind of put themselves here, and it's like, I didn't want to say that either, but it's the truth. That was the exact term. I was just trying to get around it. But I want to just be who God created, and knowing that none of this was possible without God. There's nothing that I have or nothing that I do is possible without God.
Yeah, I want to slightly disagree.
Okay.
You are special. And you truly are. And you're special because God has the ability to love all 8.1 billion humans on the planet, whether we love him back or not. And he has the ability to love each and every one of us individually for who and what we are. And that is special.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to be, and I agree with you. I don't want to be special where I have to let people know that I'm special. You know, you get that a lot. People want to just throw out there that they're this and that. Okay. But the next person is that as well too. Like, you know, I don't want to, I'm special. I accept that. I don't want to feel like I'm better than somebody else or I'm gifted, you know what I'm saying? I have this because the thing is that you have a tool that God is utilizing and so does the other person. Y'all might not be in the same group, but God is using that person as well. Like that's where I don't want to be like, you know, thinking that I'm more like, no.
Yeah. The reason I said that, Tawanda, is because I used to do exactly what you're doing. And then one day Jesus got on to me. And said, you know, you are special. The fact that I've called you makes you special. The fact that I exist in you makes you special. Who told you to do this whole false humility thing? So I think there's a huge difference between vainglory and people who are always blowing their own horns and you know, and putting themselves out there like, you know, like they're the cat's meow or whatever. I think there's a big gap between those people and then the people that, well, I'm just going to be humble and stay in the background and, you know, I'm just happy God can use me. And the reason I say that is because I think there's a great middle space where I'm not this person over here who's, you know, hyped up or whatever, but I'm also over here not hiding either, because I don't want to appear like those people. Because God's people need to see you too. They need to know Tawanda exists also. And if Tawanda is just staying in the background, then your message may be getting lost. It may not be getting to who it needs to get to. So I don't have to step out front and tell people I'm out front. You know what I mean? I can, like I always say, I can lead from the back of the room, but I'm still going to lead. I'm not going to be in the back of the room because I'm afraid that people might think that I think this or because I don't want to seem like that. I'm leading, even though I may be the quietest person in the room or even from the back of the room, but I'm still not shunning what I'm called to do. And that leadership responsibility. And I think so often we get confused. And again, the ego, you know, is whatever, easing God out. You know, the ego is like our counter thing that wants to tell you, oh, if you do that, you're not really, you know, following God, or you're not being humble, or you're not being, you know, meek or a certain way. And the reality is, like I said, sometimes we can do both. And, you know, I don't have to stay hidden and in the back of the room in order to still have incredible impact, incredible, you know, but that also doesn't mean, because I think about Jesus and you know, Jesus certainly didn't brag, but Jesus didn't unbrag either.
Well,
Jesus went into any situation saying, you know, I'm just this and I'm just that, and don't pay me no mind, and, you know, blah, 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 blah. No, he went in like, I am the Messiah. I am it. You know, I don't have to shout it out. I don't have to brag. I don't have a band following behind me. But guess what? I'm not hiding in the temple either. So I think that we can certainly walk in both spaces, so to speak, or walk in a unique space that still allows us to be visible, to do what God is calling us to do without tooting, without shouting, without, you know. And how do you know God doesn't want you to have a blue tick, my dear? God might say, no, I need her to have a blue tick because I need thousands of people to hear from my child. I need them to get my message. Sometimes we just got to deal with the, like you said, the whole celebrityism. I make up words too, by the way, but we might have to deal with that, because I dealt with that in my own life. I was like, God, I don't want to be the celebrity. I just want to serve. I just want to so-and-so. And God was like, sometimes that just comes along with it. And you deny that part and then miss getting everything that I have for you because you're not okay or not cool with one aspect of it. I don't know that even some of the pastors that have been blown up, they might have just got in it to God. I've been called and I want to serve you. And then all of a sudden somebody says, ooh, and now all of a sudden they're trending. Now all of a sudden, they've got thousands and millions of followers that they didn't necessarily ask for. And if you aren't firmly rooted, then it's easy to get caught
up. Yes.
And that's why I always say my family, they humble me so well, because I'm like, I don't care how many applause Giovanna gets. When I get up in the morning, Morgan and Jordan want breakfast. Period.
Right. And ain't nobody else cooking that breakfast.
Yeah, they don't care how many people love mommy and how many times her post was shared or how many books or how many countries she's been to. We hungry and can you cook breakfast? But that humbles me. It keeps me grounded. My husband keeps me grounded. He wants his wife, and so all of those things, I always laugh and say, I don't even believe my own hype, because the moment I do, someone in my life reminds me, you're still Giovanna.
Yeah.
But you can still be great. You can still stand on stages, but at the end of the day, you're still Giovanna. And I love that, because I get to be her and I also get to be her.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
have
good.
to choose.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad that you said that. That opened me up because at the end of the day, all I want to do is be just myself. That's it. Like I don't want to feel that pressure. I don't want to just, saying, because I know who I am. I'm a loner and I like to take a nap. I like to be alone. I like to watch movies, that type of stuff. I definitely, and that was the whole reason why I said I didn't want the blue check and all that stuff, because I know that so much comes with it. And so that's that. But you're right. If that's what God says, then that's exactly what it is. That, what I'm saying? Maybe there's a purpose behind it.
Some of the people God elevated, how could they stay hidden? Could Jesus really have stayed hidden? Could Abraham have stayed hidden? Could David have really stayed hidden? Moses. Noah. As much as they would have wanted to. I don't want God. I don't want the blue check.
Definitely Moses. Definitely Moses.
But they really have stayed hidden. They had an assignment.
Yeah, you're right.
Rahab really have stayed hidden. Ruth, you have an assignment. And fulfilling the assignment is going to bring some of that with it. And that's just part of the blessing. That's why the Bible says, the blessing brings persecution. That's part of what comes along with it. And we can't shun the blessing because of the persecution. It's part of it. Yeah.
Man, let me tell you, if I could figure out a way around that persecution, Jesus Christ.
I think everybody. I don't know anybody who wants persecution.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know anybody who's signing up for some.
Listen. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what the world?
But isn't that the part that's meant to humble us, though, right? That's the part that's meant to keep us from floating out there in the outer space, thinking that we somehow, we are larger than life. It is the persecution that brings us right back to the ground, that keeps us grounded, that keeps us humble, that keeps us depending and relying on God. It is that. And when you said earlier, like, I think back to my persecution, maybe that persecution was preparing you for this time. Maybe that is exactly why it happened, because it was meant to ground you and prepare you for such a time as this, for where God is going to take. I'm prophesying to Tawanda right now. I didn't intend for that to happen during this podcast, but I feel it. So that is meant to take you where God is trying to take you, and you get to continue to be a loner. You get to continue to be true to Tawanda. So when you want everybody to leave you alone, tell them to all leave you alone.
Yes, please.
Sabbatical. Go to your private island and turn your cell phone off, but still become everything God has put in you to become. It's so important, and it's not just for you. It's for everybody who's waiting on you. Everybody who your voice is meant to ring and resonate in their ears.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to tell you something now. I halfway accepted the call. You know what I mean? This is terrible, right? Because it's kind of like, yes, God, I will but then there's some parts of it's like, I don't know if I could I don't want to open up my life. I don't want this, I don't want that. And it's just like, no, you don't get to say, I don't want this part. All of this is
and
a package.
Who do you sound like? Who do you sound just like? You said his name twice just now.
Moses, exactly. Like,
but I stutter.
Exactly. But God, are you sure that you want to choose me? You sure you got the right one? Because I don't think I could do this. Like, yeah. And God's like, Moses, listen. And that's exactly how it be for me, because I just get so, sometimes I become afraid. I do. That's the honest truth. And I think that everyone does, second guess and it's almost like, I guess the same as Moses. It's almost like, I don't feel like I can do this. There's a lot of things that I feel like I hold myself back from. I haven't made a decision because I'm afraid that I will lose myself. And I don't ever want to go back to that old place. That is why. That is my fear. Like I feel like one half of my life, I've done things my own way, right? So now I'm doing things the way that God wants me to. And I'm afraid that I can't. It's not that I can't help people in a certain way or whatever God is asking me to do. I'm a little bit nervous about doing because I don't want to lose myself. Like I feel like I've gotten myself to a great place and trusting God. And it's like, I know that I have something to give to others. I have it. Like I want to, hey, you take it and I'm going back home. You take it and I'm going back home. And that is not, and so I haven't fully commit to everything that I'm supposed to, because I'm afraid of losing myself.
So, how do you lose the thing that you were born with? You don't.
Yeah.
You may lose awareness, but you're not going to lose yourself. And I was smiling. Y'all can't see me smiling at her, but I was because God had such a word, and I was just waiting for her to get to a pause so that I could let her in. Why is it that we only feel we need to learn to trust God in the persecution? Why can't I also trust him in the blessing? Why can't I also trust him when the sun is shining, when there are rainbows and I'm feeling great? Why do I only need to rely on God when it's stormy, when I'm in the middle of a mess? Can't the same God who's going to be with me at the bottom, in what he said, I'll be with you, up there, and I'm going to be with you down here.
Yep.
Words, right. But it's the same God. So if I can trust him down here, then shouldn't I also be able to trust and him, celebrate and glorify him when I'm here? When I feel good. Like God didn't put us here just to suffer our entire existence and we'll be happy once you get to heaven, once you die. No, we can have a semblance of heaven on earth and have that Edenic existence here on earth, which is what Adam was supposed to experience and have. But we can have that as well, where it doesn't have to go from blessing to persecution. It can go from blessing to blessing from glory to glory, from height to height, and not just, I'm up and then I'm down. Yes, things are still going to come, trials and tribulations and persecutions, but nevertheless, God, I want you when I'm when I'm way down here, but I also want to still have that same fire for you when I'm up here.
Yeah. I definitely.
I just don't want to, need it and rely on it when, oh God, everything is going wrong right now. And, these people won't let me rest. And I tried to go to lunch the other day and people wanted my autograph and, blah, 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 blah. It's like, let God bless you. Let God do what God needs and intends and wants to do in you and through you.
Because if he didn't think I could do it, he would never call me to it.
He would have never called you.
Yeah. It's just me. It's definitely me. I'm definitely Moses. I'm definitely afraid. I'm trying to get through that part because I've been trying to learn how to trust God with my eyes closed. And I swear every time I say that, that is the hardest thing that I've ever tried. Because we could easily say, God, I trust you. But it's almost like, now, okay, God, I got my eye closed. I hear you talking. I'm walking. I'm coming. I'm coming. And then, when something happened, it's just like, but God, I'm still coming, but just give me a second. Just give me a second. I'm coming. So yeah, it does. It gets tough or whatever. But yeah, I'm working on that. I'm definitely working on that. And at least I'm acknowledging that I have that fear and giving that back to God so that I could be able to release it. And so I could be able to move forward. Like I try to be as honest as I can because I don't want people to feel like life is perfect and that it's not hard. Like this journey is easy. It isn't. And I want to be fully transparent.
Somebody looking at you right now thinking your life is easy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Right now thinking your life is easy and perfect. And it ain't your responsibility to prove to them that it ain't.
Yeah.
Really what they think of you is none of your business.
Oh, no, that is true. That is true.
It's really none of your business.
That is true.
It's people that are always going to form their own opinions, that are always going to have their own opinions. Lord knows people look at me and think my life is perfect. And so that's why I have so many people trying so hard to let me do it like Giovanna. And I'm like, do you really want to change places with me? Because let me tell you, you don't want to deal with the parts you don't get to see. You don't want to deal with what I got to deal with to walk in this space, to be in this lane. It's like that meme I shared one time that said everybody wants to take your spot until they find out what it takes to play your position. Yeah, you think you want to stand in Giovanna or Tawanda or somebody else's, Pastor Avender, or you think you want to stand in their shoes until you get in those shoes and you got to actually walk in those shoes. And then you realize, wait a minute, this is not exactly what I thought it was. We, like you said earlier about the social media, yes, we have become masters at illusion, at making something appear larger and greater and more amazing, than it really is. And we've got filters and we can go buy followers and we can do this and we can do that to make ourselves seem bigger and greater and badder than what we really are. But at the end of the day, you still have to go to sleep with you. You still have to wake up each morning and look in the mirror and face you without all the likes and mentions and shares and all of that stuff. And are you okay with that reflection that's looking back at you with that individual? And that's why I love so much what you're doing, Tawanda, even though I still think you're kind of holding back some, which you've admitted to. But I love that you're making sure, I'm just making sure I'm not going to get caught up in the hype, God. I'm making sure I don't lose sight of you. I'm making sure that I don't forget about you. Pastor Ron said something one time. He said, he was talking about money, and he said, and I never forgot it. He said, money doesn't change people, it reveals them.
Yes, no, that's deep right there.
I would take that and say fame. Fame, attention, it doesn't change people, it reveals them. So if it's not in you, it won't come out of you.
Yeah, now that's true. That's it right there. That's exactly right.
It's not going to come out of you.
Yes, so that's right.
If you've got some things that you may not be aware of or that are unhealed in you, then the fame and the money and the attention may bring that to the surface.
But it's necessary.
It's necessary because guess what? It only comes up to be healed.
Yes, that makes sense. It doesn't
come up to destroy us. It doesn't come up to ruin our lives. It comes up because it's now ready to be healed.
Yes.
You're ready to be healed. You're ready to finally deal with it and address it. So now it's coming up. It didn't come up, oh God, now it comes up, God. Why now? Why at this space? Because you're ready now.
Yeah, you're ready now.
You're able, you're stronger. And so it's our lives aren't designed to kill us.
Yeah. It's to strengthen us. Yes, exactly. To grow us.
It's to fortify us. It's to sanctify us. That's what the hardships are about, and the challenges and the trials and tribulations. It's just to purify us, to show us what we're made of. God knows what we're made of, what we can deal with and what we can handle. But it's for us to discover.
Yes.
As well.
You know what? Every time I do these podcasts, I always say I love helping people, but people don't realize how much they help me. Like I always get a healing, my healing when I get on here and start having conversation. This word has been so good because I'm gonna tell you this. I was while you were talking, I was thinking, okay, God, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I am letting go. And because you're so right about that, those things come up because those are the areas that needs to be changed. That's exactly right. And that's exactly how healing works. That's exactly how healing works. Yep. So when someone's going through something in their finances, it's just telling you that you need to make some changes. That's it.
You need to save more. You need to stop spending as much, or you need to earn more. You need to go launch that business you keep talking about.
That's exactly right.
You need to go get that certificate or that that license so you can get that promotion or whatever. But it comes up to be to be healed and addressed.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to hear you say that you're ready. Again, I had no idea this is where we were going during this podcast, but I'm certainly happy and celebrating and all of that. And I'm here as your friend as well.
Yeah.
For when you need to talk, because I think everybody has had to go through that at some point when they've been called, like, oh goodness, let me
Yep.
Me over here, God, and hide. I ain't got too many problems over here, and blah 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 blah. But but God, He will still call you. It's like the teacher when you're hiding in the class because you don't want to answer the question, so you try to avoid eye contact, and the teacher calls your name anyway.
That's me. That's me.
Yeah, that's God. He's like, oh, girl, you don't think I see you hiding back there on this?
And I know you know the answer.
You better come on up here and answer this question and write on this blackboard. So yes, my dear, I'm happy. I'm happy for you to hear you say that you're ready and that it's time and all of that, because and the thing is, God is so amazing and loving. He knew exactly what it was going to take to get you here. He knew the timing. He knew the day. He knew the experiences or whatever that were going to need to happen. All of that has been mapped out. You're the one that just finally said yes.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And you know what? Now that I've said yes, I think that this is a great ending point for us. Just ending on that note of just saying yes to what God has called and releasing my fear. And just open myself up to receive what God truly has for me fully, and like not half-hearted, not partially, like fully saying yes. And today it's on record. You hear that, God?
I'm July 21st, 2022, y'all. We are all holding her to it. I want to say too, I believe you're going to walk in a place greater than anything you could have ever imagined. I believe that the stage is set. I believe the path has been laid. And again, all God was waiting for was your yes.
Yes, the full yes.
It's about to get really, really exciting from here on out.
You know what? I appreciate that word, and I appreciate you.
This episode is sponsored by the Twindle Foundation. The Twindle Foundation is a nonprofit organization dedicated to changing the wealth gap of African Americans and minorities by increasing homeownership. Did you know that 44% of Black families own their home compared to 73% of white families? A barrier to minority homeownership is student loan debt. Through scholarship, the Twindle Foundation is providing minority students with an opportunity to take on less financial debt. To give to the Twindle Foundation, visit www.twindlefoundation.org.